And we're back with more Shacknews Awards 2023 with another category stacked with nominations. Best Platformer of the Year. This is, I think we incorporate both 2D and 3D platformers into this award category. This year, it definitely seems to be more of a side-scrolling platformer year. I'm going to go through the nominees real quick, and then we can start hitting them one by one. Gravity Circuit is nominated this year. Convergence, a League of Legends story, was nominated. Sonic Superstars earned a nomination. Disney Illusion Island, a Nintendo Switch exclusive with Mickey Mouse, is nominated this year. Mr. Run and Jump, which is one of the harder platformers released this year, is not getting a nominee. And then Super Mario Bros. Wonder wraps up the 6 nominees for this category. Steve, you reviewed Mr. Run and Jump, right, for Shacknews. I was curious
Yes, I did.
curious if you have any thoughts about it. And I'm not asking you to defend it or anything, but just some thoughts, what you thought of the game.
Um, I mean, it does belong as a nominee for best platformer because it is it's a good platformer. It's got challenging jumps and challenging controls. It definitely belongs here. I felt that there were some minor hiccups with it, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not saying if it's a good controlled game or not. We're saying if it's a good platformer or not, and I believe it does deserve mention in this category.
And it's definitely more of like a speed run focused kind of game, right?
Yes.
Like so there's some replayability to it. I think that's important in the platformer genre is like that uh with Wonder and some other games on this list. Like yeah, you can power through a level, but then there's like the 100%ing of it or
Yes.
like I love games that do that. It feels like Run and Jump had a little bit of that in it. Cool. Ozzy, I believe you reviewed Disney Illusion Island, and I feel like this game, despite being a Disney IP, it kind of flew under a lot of people's radars this year.
Well, it went up against a game called Remnant, so
Mm.
that's gonna happen. But I love Disney Illusion Island for what it does. And when you look at it at first glance, you're gonna assume, well, this is Disney's Mario clone. It is not a Mario clone. In fact, you are actively penalized if you try and approach this as a Mario game. You cannot harm enemies because you're Mickey Mouse. What are you gonna do against enemies? So the idea is to avoid them, and you approach this as a platformer. This is full of jumping challenges and platforming challenges and using your various mechanics to get around the world and to traverse. Even the boss fights, you're using platforming mechanics to essentially get them to beat themselves. So in that sense, it's a great platformer. I enjoyed it as a platformer and thought it really succeeded in that area
Why didn't they call it Epic Mickey?
because that license is poison.
Okay, because like it just that when I
And
think of
also it fits more into the continuity of the newer Mickey Mouse cartoons. It's more based on the Wonderful World of Mickey, as opposed
okay,
to Epic Mickey, which was trying to be its own thing.
okay, no, that
It's
makes sense. I
also
just
it makes me think of the Mickey games from the 16-bit
mhm,
era, like
mhm,
Mickey and the Castle of Illusion, stuff like that.
sure.
And
No,
you,
I think
and
it's
you
interesting.
Yeah, I loved it, and I love that they try to think outside the box and go, yeah, there are a bunch of enemies here, but you can't beat any of them. You have to actually find ways around them because if
That
you
is really
try,
cool.
yeah, if you try and take them on, like you're Mickey Mouse, you're not gonna kick anybody's ass. What are you doing?
Mhm. I think the art style is also really cool of the
It's
game in the
wonderful.
game.
Love that
Yeah,
art style,
the obviously Disney has amazing artists and they work very closely with all their licensors of their IP.
and
But
it's
yeah,
not
I just
something that needs to be like intensive. You don't need to like push the Switch hardware for it or anything.
yeah.
Like you can still make a really wonderful, eye-catching art style without needing to be a technical powerhouse like the PS5.
Yeah, and I think Nintendo has shown that in a lot of their first party titles, but yeah, there's I think in year 7 or 8 wherever we are in the Switch cycle, a lot of devs have figured out how to like I think Hollow Knight was another example of that. Just like stunning game that ran actually extremely well on Switch. Awesome. Well, congratulations to Mickey for the nomination. Next up, Sonic Superstars. Who reviewed this here?
That was me.
That was Ozzy
Now
again.
it's also me. Here's the thing about Sonic Superstars is the first thing people are going to tell you about is, it's Sonic, but you play it as co-op. You need to put that aside. This is not a good co-op game. In fact, this is a terrible co-op game. But if you look at it as a Sonic game, and you look at the level design from top to bottom, the way it lets the way it integrates verticality, the way it lets you explore different, you can approach the same level twice and not necessarily approach it the same way. This is probably some of the best Sonic work the team has ever done. Like these are some of the coolest levels I've seen in however many 2D Sonic games, probably since Mania. And in that sense, I thought this was great. I thought it was a great platformer, and I thought it really integrated the sense of Sonic speed, which is what a Sonic game should be, and which is precisely why it fails as a co-op game, because you got to go fast. And there are a lot of levels in this game where you get to just go ham and just try and speed run as quickly as possible, and I love it.
I think the problem with Sonic co-op in that 2D environment is that they need to go split screen as opposed to you're both on the same screen, because it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's like impossible to keep up with each other if you hit that boost when someone else is like 5 seconds behind you. Then you end up turning. I don't know. I think that there's something they could do to actually make it feel better.
They've
Where like
struggled with that since Sonic 2 though, right? Like if you
Mhm.
played Tails, it didn't even follow you. The only two-player mode that was viable was a split screen competitive race. Like they didn't really know
Yeah,
how to handle co-op, you know.
and
They
then
do have
that's
a
what
competitive
Mania had
aspect.
too.
They have a versus mode in Sonic Superstars. It doesn't necessarily work, but
Mhm.
it's fine for what it is.
The
It's
versus mode in Mania was decent, and that utilized split screen. But yeah,
that
you're right.
Yeah.
that kind of sums up Sonic's attempt at competitive multiplayer. It's decent. It's fine. It's not terrible, but it's not something you're going to go out of your way to play either.
I think another important thing to note about Sonic Superstars is this was like a brand new art style for the whole franchise, and they did a really good job there.
I've said before that this is their jump to New Super Mario Brothers in
Yeah,
terms of art
Yeah,
style.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and it's funny that they're making that jump just as Mario is getting away from New Super Mario Brothers, but the art's some of the best that they've ever had, and I hope they stick with this because this is a breath of fresh air for the series.
nice. Moving on to our next nominee, I believe TJ, you reviewed Convergence, a League of Legends story. Is this like Star Wars? Are we just gonna get a bunch of League of Legends stories now?
I mean, yeah, we already have they put out 3 pretty decent ones this year. Convergence was probably my favorite among them though.
Mhm.
It's from the crew Double Stallions, which I don't think they've done much outside of this. They have a couple games on their roster, but this is a Metroidvania, like full featured in this one. He uses time mechanics in his gameplay. And so a lot of his abilities in this game are based on his ability to reverse time or like freeze things in stasis for a second and do massive damage to them in that stasis. And then using like you go for a jump. He's also like really mobile, really parkour heavy, and you go for a jump, you miss that jump, you use his time ability to reverse the game like a few seconds and bring him back so you can try it again. And it was just incredibly stylish in the way that it like put that together. I hadn't ever thought of a League of Legends spinoff as a Metroidvania game before, but I think Echo was the perfect pick for this based on what you can do with his abilities and how they open things up throughout the game.
I think it's smart what they're doing because like League has so many freaking characters already, and people love or
League,
recognize. Yeah, and they're just cranking out random things that you're like, when they announce it, you're like, huh? And then it comes out and it's actually a polished game, very different genre that they're known for.
yeah.
It's kind of neat.
League has kind of that Overwatch thing going on where there is so much lore built into the universe and it's all outside of the primary way people play the game.
Yeah,
So the Riot Forge stuff has been a cool way for them to expand on all the stuff that they've had in League of Legends lore for years already.
and then they also have that Netflix show, right? Like they're just
Hmm.
they're doing everything with that IP.
Yeah.
Uh, no, solid nomination. And I think you played this last nomination, or sorry, this next one, Gravity Circuit, right?
As the Indylicious host, this was like one of my pride and joys to put on this nominee list. Gravity Circuit is the best Mega Man like that you haven't played. It's so good. This was maybe one of my favorite things I played on Indylicious this year. You play as a robot that goes after 8 other robot bosses, and just the amount of stuff that they pulled from classic games to make this work is incredible. It's very Mega Man X, and it's like you can jump onto walls and jump off of them. You fight these 8 bosses. You gather their powers and you use them against them each other in like their weak forms. It has a grappling hook, and the grappling hook works like Bionic Commando, which I haven't seen a game do successfully in a long time. I love Bionic Commando grappling. Um, it has a lot of Ninja Gaiden qualities and like the
Yeah.
melee and the abilities that you can unlock. There is straight up a spinning a pile driver move that you can unlock, where you can grab onto pretty much any enemy and then just dive bomb them. Uh, I love this game. I love the art of it. I love the music. I love the platforming. I love the bosses. I love the abilities. It's just everything I would want in a retro styled platformer.
Yeah. I definitely have checked it out, and I agree with your assessment. It's like Mega Man like and Ninja Gaiden like, and those are two very awesome side-scrolling platformers or action games. I do love a grappling hook, but what if I were to tell you that there was a Mario game that also added a grappling hook this year? Because that's Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and that's our final nomination for this category. And I'm gonna find it surprising if it doesn't win. Mario Wonder scored 10 out of 10 at Shacknews. It's the only review I've ever written where I was like, I don't have anything bad. There was no cons. I had nothing to say bad about the game. Which, even when I love a game, I usually have some sort of nitpick. I think Wonder is just pure fun, and it's Nintendo took some wild risks, I think, in the game. The changing of Mario's voice and Luigi's voice, that's a huge deal to some. And also the end of an era for Charles Martinet, right?
Yeah.
But I think Kevin Afghani does a great job. I think everyone sounds younger in the game. The game introduces a brand new kingdom called the Flower Kingdom, which I think is cool to see the Mario universe expanding. I like to think that the Flower Kingdom is where Peach, Toad, and Mario go in the movie, where there's that field of fire flowers. Because fire flower is pretty. It's one of the power ups in this game that's heavily featured, right? You can be an elephant. Can you be an elephant in any of these other games that we nominated? No, I don't think so. Bubble Mario is also hilarious and extremely broken in speedrunning settings.
Yes.
The stuff that I'm seeing speedrunners do with Bubble Mario, absolutely hilarious. It makes
E-
some of those tough levels look easy.
yeah, even outside of speedrunning, whenever you have to do those like versus arena where you have to clear out like 3 rooms of enemies, bubble, 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 bubble. Like if you give me that, it's over. You know.
Yeah, and I love those battle challenges, right? Because that beginning screen, you get to choose between the 4 power-ups in the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, like sometimes I'll go like, okay, I want bubble, but I get bubble first and then I get elephant so that I have elephant and I can swap to bubble, right?
I do that too, but like the bubble, speaking to what you said, like bubbles can go through objects. So
Yeah.
like it is just so effective. Because I usually do that too. I keep the elephant in reserve, but like I always hate losing bubble because it's just the best power up in that game, I would say.
And
And you
there's
can
also
jump on the bubbles too. You can use them as little platforms.
there's also Drill Mario that's added that adds like a lot of gameplay mechanics to levels that you just couldn't. There's like traversal unlocked with that power up specifically that just opened a whole world of level design for them. It really felt like Nintendo's devs sat down and they were like, they literally watched all those ROM hacks, and they sat there and they watched all of our Mario Maker levels, and they're like, huh, okay, so these are the constraints that exist in the Mario equation right now, and they're just how do we break down every single barrier? And that's
Yeah.
Wonder, where the Wonder Flower mechanic unlocks these different ways to play the game. I mentioned in my review, some of these are just one-off experiences where they create a gameplay mechanic literally for one level, which we've seen in the past from Nintendo with Mario games, but to do it every level is
Yeah.
just a different level of insane.
And
Uh,
there's a lot
yeah,
of replay too because you want to. There are a lot of like the 10 coins that you can't collect unless you skip the Wonder Flower and play the level the normal way. I would say like the fundamentals of this game. We haven't even talked about the badges yet and how you
mhm,
can those give Mario different powers. I would say that like everything from the difficulty being very accessible to finding secrets like the secret world, collecting all the coins for aimed at veteran players, to the badges and how they change level approaches. Like I play every level with that passive badge that adds platforms just because I want to see where platforms will show up and where I
sure,
can reach with them.
sure,
This is probably the best Mario game since Super Mario World. Like
yeah.
forgetting all the 3D ones, which 3D platforming is like this weird thing because depth perception happens, but it never happens in 2D games.
I
And
think
Mario
it's just
Wonder is just great.
I just put them in different baskets. There's
I
the
would
3D
too.
Mario games and there's the 2D Mario games, and
Yeah,
I don't think it's fair to compare them. So like I compare Odyssey to Galaxy, Galaxy 2, 64, Sunshine.
yeah.
But I think it's right to look at Wonder and compare it to Yoshi's Island or
World.
yeah,
Yeah,
World or even Super Mario Bros 3 cuz there are elements this game is fast. Like it's faster than the new Super Mario Bros was.
yeah.
Uh and I think it kind of brings it back to that 16-bit or late 8-bit era that they had. The power-ups, the mix of the level design, it just is a faster game.
I will
Uh,
say one huge thing they did that made it more accessible to Amy. She never really liked Mario games with time limits because she wants to
yeah,
explore. This game takes away the time limit, so it's interesting because the gameplay is fast, but you can slow it down to whatever speed you prefer and just hunt around levels, and that is huge for people who maybe this is every Mario game is someone's first Mario game, right? And I think that's a huge change that is for the better.
and there's times in the game where I just want to sit there and watch the game. I
Yeah,
don't want to progress. There's I know we posted that clip. I believe it's the second to last level in Bowser's castle, floating castle, whatever you want to call it. Uh, where there's just this like it's very musical, right? And like Mario's this is like I'm Elephant Mario and I'm looking back at it basically. I just remember when that happened, I just stopped and I'm like, there's just moments in the game where you just stop and you're staring at it. You're like, is this really happening right now? Uh, and I just think it's cool that it surprises you every level. It's not
yeah.
just like a once a world thing or the wonder flowers exist everywhere. And like you said, the replay value is going back and getting those the purple coins,
Mhm.
but also some of these levels have three different exits or two exits, and then there's the way to progress through the level without the wonder flower, the way to progress with the wonder flower. There's even more secrets underground or pipes that like where there's times where you have to like move a pipe and then it becomes
Yes, that's
traversable.
such a cool idea.
Yeah. So like it really does feel like they looked at all these ROM hacks and they looked at all the Mario Maker stuff and they said, "What if we made a Mario game with no rules?" And that's
And
what Wonder is.
that is what Wonder is. I also think this is probably the best overworld in a Mario game since World. It was really cool in Mario World to open up secrets and see how you created these branches off the map.
Yeah.
There are so many hidden levels and just fun things to find in every overworld map in Wonder. I do love how it all feels connected as well. Like
Mhm.
every piece of this game just shines. It's not the biggest surprise this year. I think we can talk about that in another category, but it was my favorite surprise. Like I love 2D platforming is my favorite genre. And to me, nobody does the fundamental better than Nintendo. I was really, really excited for this game, and it
Like,
lived up to every expectation.
if we think back to March before the Mario movie launched, and we looked at the lineup of software releases that Nintendo had planned for this year, it was
Yeah.
like, where's the Mario? Because you
Yeah.
got this Mario movie coming out, and this game had been worked on in secret for years at this point. But yeah, I remember earlier in the year just being like, they don't have a Mario game this year. Like they don't like Super Nintendo World opened in Universal Studios Hollywood. Like the Mario movie happened. It just felt weird. And then of course they announce it, and it's out in what 3 months after the announcement. And it was certainly a surprise announcement because it was like they came and they're like Mario RPG remake, and we're all like, what? And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you can be an elephant in this new game too. And the internet just blew up. And Denny can speak to just how many views our elephant Mario footage has gotten across all the platforms. But people like Elephant Mario. I like Elephant Mario. If this game was just Elephant Mario, if it was New Super Mario Bros. With an elephant power up, it's probably getting a 9 or an 8. But it's like so much better than that. I do want to bring up what you mentioned about badges. Like badges create replayability, but they also show you like, oh, this is how you get that purple coin, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that online element that we talked about too in our strand category, there are times where you don't know how to get to that thing where you
Yes.
turn on online play and a really friendly player will literally show you without talking to you or anything. They're like, hey, come down this way, go this way.
That
And
reminds me of the Souls games. Like there are
Mhm.
times when I see someone jumping on a platform that is not in my game. And I'm like, oh, so there should be a platform here. It's like you're helping each other, whether you mean to or not. It's really, really cool.
and
I've
it's
also
just so different than any other Mario games multiplayer. And just real quick, the online play for Mario games, side-scrolling Mario games, when they do put online in, has been god awful atrocious. This is great. And we talked about it in the best racing game category, but like Nintendo's actually getting better at online play. Finally. But they're actually getting better at it. Sorry, go ahead, TJ.
it was like a really fun moment when I think I was on one of those boards where you have to collect all of the coins in the area to finish the level.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having trouble tracking down the fifth one, and I had other players in there with me. And I'm like racking my brain, like, what does it want me to do here? And I know that the other players knew that I was struggling with that because I suddenly see them like gather up in one spot and start crouching over and over and over again on one spot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
I bet I know the level you're talking about too. That one was fun.
The search mission levels are tough.
Mhm.
Those are my favorite. Like I don't know what you call them. Like maybe like the side levels, like this repeating mission type, right? Like there's the races, there's the challenge arenas. I
God.
love having to hunt down those 5 coins because it really makes you think about like what badge might be the most efficient for your play style.
Mm-hmm.
Those levels are super fun. Those levels are really
Just
good.
real quick, what's your favorite badge?
Parachute.
Yeah, I like floating high jump.
I
That's
like
good
the
too.
I like the
Floating high
hidden
jump's
block
pretty good.
badge.
I also like
Yeah.
the one that's like a power boost spin. That one's solid.
Yep.
The hidden block
you know what-
badge is my favorite, just because I love the opportunities that come with the new blocks that come out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's that badge is so good. I also have to give a shout out. We might have mentioned this one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one where you have to hold down and you charge your jump. It made me think
Yeah, that's mine.
of Super Mario 2 USA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You had to do
it's
that
called
to get a higher jump.
it's called crouching high jump. But yeah,
Crouching
that
high
is
jump.
yeah. You're right. It kind of feels like Mario 64 too, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
The backflip jump in that game.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just love the optionality that they created with badges, and then like what that would entail, like if you were playing, in co-op with people. Like it's just it's just very different game than a lot of the other Mario games. And I was just sick of the new Super Mario Bros. Equation. I felt like it had gotten stale before they ported over New Super Mario Bros. Whatever Deluxe over to Switch.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah.
I never enjoyed the multiplayer of that game
No.
at all. So I would buy those games. I'd play through the single player. I'd be on with my life. yeah, like this is a game I actually want to play with friends. And
You'll make friends with this co-op. With the new Super Mario Brothers co-op, you will lose friends.
yeah, and then talking about those special levels, I love the Wiggler races. I think they're some of
Oh,
the
those are fun too.
those are
Yeah.
so much fun, and like I like that it really feels like some of these things were inspired by Mario Maker, where it's like
Yes.
there's a
Yes.
lot of musical levels where they're almost auto scroll like, right? And you know how many auto scrolling music levels there are in Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2. It's like most of the top 10 any given week is just an auto scrolling music thing. And there was the verticality in Wonder is something that I think was inspired by Mario Maker levels also. Because it really feels like there's some levels that you go higher than you've ever gone or
It's
deeper than
something.
you've ever
It's something
gone.
they never played with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Like it's something they've never really played with in like a core meat and potatoes Nintendo Mario game. And I think you're
Mhm.
right. Like that has to come from Mario Maker. Like they've even said like that's kind of an abridged version of the tool set they use internally. And you
Yep.
have to figure they watch to see what catches on, you know.
Mhm. And like jump, 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 right? That level is very
Hmm.
difficult and everything. I think it's maybe one of the best designed Mario levels of all time
It's my
because
favorite level in the game.
it
Yep.
is so frustrating. And it makes you want to snap your controller in half or throw your Switch out the window, which is the sign of a good Mario level, I have to say. But also, it doesn't penalize you. You don't die. If you don't make that jump, you just fall to the bottom of the level and you go through the pipe and you can do it all over again. I love that. Because so many Mario levels feel punishing and they take away your one up at the end of it. This one is probably the most punishing level I've ever seen, but I never was like, well, that's cheap. It was just hard, not cheap. You know what I mean? I think that's important from a level design standpoint. I like to point to that one specifically because it is one of the more challenging ones for some people. If you know how to jump off of bubbles, it's very easy, apparently. But I'm not a speedrunner. But yeah, I think that level kind of highlights just how special of a game it is. And there's plenty more like that. And these one-time things that happen, be it a stampede in a level or, blue coins that you have to collect or whatever. It just every time and nothing felt stale, nothing felt overused in that game. It just like you're just going. And it's
Yeah.
a lovely game to watch be speedrun right now. And yeah, I just think it's great. So that's our last nominee. I think we've talked enough and given enough flowers to Mario for this category. But want to put it to a vote? Sound like a
Let's do
plan?
it.
I'm gonna start with you, Denny. What you got?
Well, I think I'm gonna have to go with Mario. Definitely had a great time with the game so far, and feels fresh and new in different ways. Really appreciate all the effort that's gone into trying some new things with this one. And yeah, the elephant blow up was real on all socials. Uh, People are really enjoying as much elephant content as possible. So,
Yeah, we cranked out as I think it was like Elephant Daisy riding
uh-huh.
Yoshi, and that did like a ton of
Yeah.
views.
Yeah.
No, it's a great game, and I think one thing we didn't really mention in this category for it, the change in art style. I
Hmm.
love when you go through a pipe and Mario has to like grab his hat like Indiana Jones.
When
There's
you
just
when
mhm.
you shoot a bubble at an enemy and they see it coming, they're like, no, no, no.
The eyes, every enemy's eyes, like the expression that you see in Goomba's eyes or when they're asleep or whatever, the flowers. Yeah, there's a lot of NPC or enemy animations that you're just like, wow, the level of detail in this game is crazy. And that's that Nintendo equation where they don't need the best hardware, but they can make some really, really stunning software. That game is only 3.5 gigs, by the way, in a world where games are hundreds of gigs. David, you want to pile on the Mario vote
Super
here?
Mario, man. Yep. One of the best games of the year.
Nice. Donovan, what's your best platformer of the year?
Mario Wonder, no contest.
I'm gonna vote for the Super Mario Bros. Wonder game. It's the first 10 I think it's the first 10 I've ever given a game. It's excellent. I highly recommend it. It's good for every age group. I think that the addition of Yoshi and Nabbit as like really accessible ways to beat the game are awesome. I would like harder games to consider something like that. I don't think it cheapens the game's difficulty at all. It just makes it more playable.
That's the thing for a lot of people asking for like easy mode and Dark Souls games, or even in like this game. I think that they're not thinking outside the box. They're looking for a menu option.
Yeah.
Games like Elden Ring, games like Mario Wonder give you that. It's just not a menu option. You know,
Mhm.
it's a character or a spell or style of play.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot more clever and it reaches a lot more people.
Yep. Greg, what you got?
Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
TJ.
If Super Mario Brothers Wonder hadn't come out this year, it would have been Gravity Circuit, because I think that's like it's like the difference between those two games is that Gravity Circuit is like a best of platforming elements brought into one game. But Super Mario Bros. Wonder innovates, and it innovates on a 35-year-old series, which is just amazing in of itself. I have to give it to Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Ozzy.
Same thing. I can't emphasize enough how great the reinvention of the series is. I'm voting Wonder.
Bill.
Super Mario Bros. Wonder.
Steve, can you say it like Mario?
Mm,
No, sorry. No, can't do that.
Damn.
Mario Brothers Wonder.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
And yeah, tune into Steve Tendo if you want to hear more Mario impressions. Twitch.tv Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday around 9 p.m. What did Sam vote? I just want to make sure that
This is
Sam
a
was
sweep.
in line. What did he say?
It's a sweep.
Is it a sweep? Sam voted for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So that is the second clean sweep we've had here at the Shacknews Awards. I'm sure Nintendo is going to be super stoked to find out they made the best platformer of the year. It's a game that also I think borrows from the success of like Celeste and some of those other games too. It's not just ROMs and Mario stuff. Like it really looked at platforming as a genre for inspiration, and I just think it's like a really cool time over at Nintendo because there's a young crop of people who are popping up that are all they're being allowed to take some risks with IP, make new experiences, and I think that's a great thing. So
I think also,
congratulations.
well,
Go
just
ahead.
one more word. Like it's to your point, Nintendo often operates in its bubble, and like they've even been name dropping other games. Like I think Eiji Aonuma even said the word Skyrim. And if you know how Nintendo operates, you would think that they would probably pretend that no other game they haven't made even exists. You know, so it's pretty cool that they're branching out and finding their way. So I mean, they did it with Breath of the Wild, right? In 2017, they're doing it with Mario now. It's really cool to see.
So yeah, congratulations, Nintendo. I'm sure you're not going to win many awards for Mario Wonder this year, but yeah, the Shacknews Award for best platformer game or platforming game of 2023 goes to Super Mario Bros. Wonder.